Trinity, we are back talking NFC South today. If you haven't followed the previous two divisions, we've talked NFC North and NFC East, going through every team, every relevant receiver and tight end. Now that we're full-fledged into the rookie draft season, Ray, heading into Senior Bowl week this week when we're dropping this, Combine coming up, tons of mock draft content, tons of rookie content from you. But excited to go through. We're going to have to spice up this division to make it a little more exciting. When I said, hey, Ray, we're doing NFC South today, it was not let's go. Let's get so excited about this division. But we're here. We've had two good episodes before this where I think we're learning the flow of kind of how to go through division by division, team by team. But welcome in, man. I'm excited for a couple of the teams in here. Some maybe leave a little to be desired. But what's on your mind? How you feeling?
I feel good. It's still icy out, but the ice is melting, so we'll finally be able to leave the crib probably a little later today. But no, I love the conversation around the receiver position right now, and in particular in our Discord. If you guys are here watching this video early, you're members, you believe in what we do, I highly encourage you to get in the Cord. We've got a Trinity channel, and there's more and more people talking about wide receivers and usage and how to take the takeaways and the learning lessons of this past season and apply it to startup drafts this year, apply it to rookie drafts, apply it to team building, moves they need to make, players to buy, players they need to move off of. And some of the bigger named fantasy analysts in the space, JJ Zachariason dropped the pod talking about wide receiver twos and usage. And it's all coming back to the things that I've been talking about for years. Wide receiver ones are not the same across all 32 teams, nor are the twos, nor are the threes. So to see more and more people diving into, hey, I need to learn how to use this tool better. I need to go back and use the historical comparison tab and look at what 2024 data said and how that correlated to 2025 success or not, and figure out moves to make. So the conversation that's taking place, shout out to some of the Discord members that are in there, grinding this stuff right now, wanting to learn more, wanting to hear more, and all the people who enjoy the series. Like, we don't have all the answers. I can't predict the future, but I can tell you this, the best predictor of what might happen next season is probably some of the things that the teams deployed this year, and that's what this tool is about. So I love talking about it. Like, I truly love talking about the game, the changes that are happening in the NFL, and how that might impact decisions we make, regardless of what damn format you play in. Lineup leagues, best ball leagues, doesn't matter. The principles of football still apply. So I love doing this, man. I love talking Trinity, love talking ball, love talking usage and receivers. So we'll have a good one here, even though it's the NFC South. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I consider this the kind of foundation of where to start with each one of these teams, each one of these players. But I can't echo what you said enough to jump into the Discord. And that's where you really can talk with others that have the same in-depth passions for, okay, I watched the Trinity shows, I've used the tool, I've followed the conversation. How do I actually go out and execute it? And here's my league, here's my format, here's the trade market, here's the offer I've gotten. You can get those things answered directly about your teams. Tag us, tag some of the other creators, engage with some of the people. I mean, there's people in there that are answering 10 times more questions than we are because they're so active in there. But that's where you get, if you're looking for individual league advice, trade advice, certainly drop it in the comments. We'll try to get to some of those. But that's not what this show is per se. This is just to kind of give an overarching view of the players, of the teams, of the situations. Then come to the Discord. Join the community. That's where you kind of get a real in-depth look at your roster, your format, your economy. What do I actually do in this individual move? So let's get into it. Let's get all the four teams on the screen. We got the Buccaneers, we got the Falcons, we got the Saints, and we got the Panthers. Mm-hmm. So looking at all four, what stands out to you? I mean, obviously, there's some guys at the very top that we can probably have a value conversation with. I don't know where you want to start.
Let me ask you a fun one here first, because I've gotten ripped in the comments, Scott. I've gotten ripped in the comments for not using the player headshots, but I'm kind of just like an old dot guy. what is your preferred setup? Labels and dots or labels and headshots? Some people go straight headshots with no labels. I can't do that. What is your preferred setup? Dots or the headshots with labels?
It's definitely not the headshots without the labels. I just default to the dots with the team with the player names.
Same.
I don't need
Same.
So I don't need to see their faces. I don't need to see their hairstyles or anything like that. I'm good with the names. And if you want to maybe spice it up for content a little bit, you can put the headshots on there. But
naked headshots, you agree, is not the way to just go like this. Just naked headshots with no label. That's not the way. For those of y'all out there doing it, stop it. Put the damn labels on. But we're gonna roll with the dots, Scott. We're gonna dot it up today.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, clearly the first thing that stands out to me is you have two teams based on what you see right now. Okay.
Ooh,
that
goodness.
I think stand out above the others in terms of usage, at least to me.
Okay. And what two teams are that? What two teams are that for you?
Well, I mean, I guess if you're looking at, it's definitely Tampa Bay. That's
Tampa
one we
Bay
talked
stands
about
out to me. Tampa Bay stands out to me more than any other situation on the screen. It's Tampa Bay. It's Tampa Bay, and
let's go to them first.
All right, let's do it and talk about it and what happened to that team this year, because a lot of people were disappointed in the output that you got from Tampa Bay this season. But that's the first thing that stands out to me is. This is a stark difference. I just want let's do this exercise first. Tampa Bay, full season 2025. There it is on the screen. All right. Tampa Bay 2024. Let's take a look at what that looked like compared to what we have right here. So remember where everybody was at look at that from 24. Granted, no Emeka Ibuka there, but you've got Mike Evans, 7.3 Trinity, 17 points per game. Chris Godwin, well above the line. He didn't play a full season, but when he was out there, he was a top 5, top 4 wide receiver. Jaylen McMillan above the line. Cade Otton above the line. And Sterling Shepard and those guys back here. Just a very stark contrast from what we just had from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here in 2025. Just a disaster of an offensive output season for the Buccaneers when you look at them, as a whole. Now, if we start segmenting the first 4 weeks versus the last 10, 15, 13 weeks, it looks much different, because at the beginning you had Ibuka doing well and some other things. But yeah, that is the thing that stands out to me, is how bad this situation got with the change in the offensive coordinator with Liam Cohen going to Jacksonville. And you probably could see a correlating effect with Jacksonville when we get to the AFC South about how they perform from their receivers and the usage in 24 to what we got in 2025 with Liam Cohen there. But this is the first one that stands out, is just how poor things got in this environment last year.
Yeah, you can see on the screen everybody below the line. So that's the first thing. Environment probably not as good, which tracks. So they were 21st in neutral pass rate, 13th in plays per game. And then in terms of quality, so 20th in passing EPA. So right there, the quality is low. The play volume is neutral to below average. And the average throw depth is league average. Then you take the fact that you have Evans missed time, Godwin missed time. Ibuka was their best receiver, but it didn't feel like he was for 2/3 of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Jaylen McMillan came back, which, he's one of those ones where some people will say bye, because I think Jaylen McMillan is a good player, but you could also argue where, he's a tough buy if the environment stays what it is. But then you add in Sterling Shepard, who was a Nat, Tez Johnson, who's probably, to be honest, Ray, one of the better wide receiver 5s or 6s in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a tight end that worked in periodically. So you had a concentration problem. Oh. You had a terrible environment, or an environment that was well below what it was last year. It was 20th in the league is in my environment score. So it's like problems on both ends, right? Too much of the ball spread out, so no concentration. And then you have a bad environment. But then you also have, and real quick while you're doing this, well, we can go to it in a second. I was going to say it's very interesting when you tab to Tampa Bay and you look at Tampa Bay versus KTC, it is one of if you just took the total value of players on Tampa Bay, when you add in the fact that they have 5 guys that are valued above that 2,000 mark.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of players besides Ibuka. There's a lot of players that do have some value, right? Maybe they're worth a second or they're worth 2/3, but you have a bunch of players that actually hold some value. But I think the takeaway is figuring out, besides Ibuka, because I think he's on his own island, right? Like we know he's probably the number one option there. Definitely the number one option based on value. But I think it comes down to the rest of the environment. You can go back to the report if you want to, but I just want to highlight that they have a lot of players that do hold some value, which makes it tricky as to how you play this in 2026.
This is data weeks 1 through 17, so it doesn't include anything that they did week 18. But just look at the target share for when these players were out there. 23% for Ibuka, 23% for Evans, 18, almost 19% for Godwin, 14% for McMillan for the small time he was out there. Sterling Shepard, even though, I mean, just think about this, man. Sterling Shepard took 39 receptions, 371 yards, and 12% of the market share away from other players. And then you've got Otten down here, 14%, which gobbled up 52 receptions. Tez Johnson, pretty much you round that up, we're at 9%, 27 receptions and 5 touchdowns went to Tez Johnson. This is, I mean, it was beyond a concentration problem. I mean, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then at the end of the season, a 7th receiver in the fold for Tampa Bay this year. A lot of it, albeit due to injury. I know you say Ibuka's the guy, but that's a little bit scary too, to see how good he started out. And then once other pieces got kind of folded back into the mix, it just was a little bit different in Tampa Bay. Let's go back here. I want to look at them. I want to break them down by segments. I really just want to look at what all that usage means in increments for Tampa Bay. So let's take all this off. Let's just look at the first month, Scott. The first month of the season when it's hard to track and trust a lot. Here's what it looked like. You had a 7.0, still below the line. Oh, let me make sure. Let me make sure we update the chart after we go 1 through 4. Got to do that. There we go. Look at Ibuka. 7.5, 17 points per game. Evans was down here, 7.4. And then, no Tez Johnson was way back there weeks 1 through 4. Nothing. Otten, nothing. It was all Ibuka, all Mike Evans. Let's take that off and then just look at 5, 6, 7, 8. I just want to look at this in quarters for a second. Let's see what happens weeks 5 through 8. So now we know Mike Evans is out. Godwin is out. You had the uptick in Tez Johnson. Look at his usage spike. Ibuka's still high, but it was, 5 through 8, the scoring definitely tailed off a little bit. You had some tightening up here with the concentration, some consolidation. Let's get out of 8. Let's go 9 through 12, just that third quarter of the season, and look at what's happening in Tampa Bay. Ibuka's still leading the way, but not producing. A lot of this, probably some of this due to Baker Mayfield. You have Tez kind of kicking his coverage. Those 5 touchdowns showing up right there. Cade Otten not delivering. Whose fault is that? I don't know. I don't want to speculate. And then just the last 5 weeks of the season when you had kind of everybody back in the mix, kind of piecing this together. Look at this. This is 13 through 17. Evans at the top, by far. Chris Godwin. After that, look at Ibuka, how far below. 6.4 trade. I guarantee you, if we zoomed out and added every other team in the NFL on the screen, he would be by far the lowest player with that type of usage, the lowest output performing player in the league. I can almost guarantee you without even looking, to have that high of usage and score that little. I don't know what to think. Honestly, I know you said Ibuka's probably the one. If Evans is back, I bet you he's the one. If Mike Evans is back, I would project him to be the one in that offense for as long as he's on the field. Godwin's going to be there. Godwin's probably right in the mold, right in the fold is a high target earner as well, Scott. I don't know if it's Emeka Ibuka, the primary going into next season. I know we like to think that. Second-year player, they're going to give him more opportunity. If Evans and Godwin are back, the offense, what is changing? You got the same head coach, the same quarterback. What about the second half of the season usage gives anybody confidence that he's the primary in this situation? I had a question the other day when I did the draft video. Somebody asked me, Ray, would you rather have Emeka Ibuka or the pick to draft, the pick that is designated to draft Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon? Which one would you rather have? And I'm like, I'd rather have the pick. Am I wrong for that? Am I wrong for feeling like I'd rather have the rights to one of those two, even if they don't become Emeka Ibuka? I'd rather have that. I'm not buying that he's just auto one in the offense next year. I hope so. But the usage seems to think otherwise. And then when you look at the totality of this season, everything that's happened, instead of me guessing, let's just see what, based on his usage, what are his ranges of outcome for 2025. And this tool will tell us, and it's actually pretty damn good. And we'll do some callbacks. There it is right there. Based on his usage, which was adjusted down for efficiency, you're looking at a 11 point to 15 point per game player in Emeka Ibuka.
Yeah, I mean, when I meant Ibuka's the one, like, he's got the value. He's got the upward trajectory. He kind of bullied Evans and Godwin as a rookie in a situation nobody thought he would come in and even hang. So I agree. If Evans is back, he is an unrestricted free agent. I think that is a huge linchpin for this situation in terms of how you're going to view the other weapons. But I think he's the one player in the offense where he's shown that he can play pretty much all the same roles that the other guys played in spurts. And he clearly has the steam as if Evans leaves, he will be somebody that people are like, okay, he can take the next step. People will say, oh, he could be the next JSN. And a lot of that, I guess the way that I look at it is if we just reversed the trend of how his season went in 2025 and he would have done what he did at the beginning, at the end, we'd be having a different conversation. He started to eat into everybody else at the end of the year. And if this environment flips, then he could be the one that surges into the next tier of players. So that's what I meant when I think he's the one. I agree with Scott, you that if Evans is back,
that didn't happen though, right? Like that is the mistake people. It happened at the beginning, and there were injuries at the beginning of the season. Was Tampa Bay coming into the season not already wrecked by injuries? There was no Godwin to start the season. Mike Evans got hurt week what? He got hurt pretty early in the season. He never bullied them. That is factually incorrect for how the usage worked out in there. There was wide open runway. And the moment those two players got back on the field, they cut right into it. It was already getting cut by Tez and Cade Otton. I'm not arguing with you on the value or the KTC or the leverage or the hopium, but it is not accurate to say that he bullied them out of usage. It was quite the opposite.
Oh, let me clarify this. Here's my take on Ibuka. He's a top 20 receiver. You have to bet if he can get into the top 10. I think people are overthinking what he is. He's great. Is he elite? That's the only question. And you know what separates him from being an elite? Do you think the environment gets back to being elite, right?
Yeah.
If it does, I don't care if he's better than Mike Evans. It doesn't matter. If it's an elite environment, I'll take his usage from last year and say he could have an elite season. But to me, like
I don't think he can have an elite season. I'm going to just tell you right now, I do not believe there is an elite season inside of this offense from this player as it's currently constructed.
And I think that's where that range of outcomes comes in. Like, basically, he's comparable to a lot of the guys we've already talked about on this series, right? He's not as good as George Pickens. He's not as good as CeeDee Lamb. Their environment isn't as good. He's probably more comparable to the Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Jameson Williams range, right? But his value's probably a little bit higher. So do what you will with Ibuka, but I think he's the thing that I'm settled with is he's already kind of arrived in that range where I know he's a good player. His environment will determine if he could be a great player, and then the Mike Evans decision next year probably helps or hurts him getting there with a smaller margin. So I think he's pretty easy. It's really just, of course, I'd rather have the pick to draft any receiver in this class because I get my chance to reroll on somebody that you basically said not a high likelihood that he takes it to the next level and he's the next Amon-Ra or Puka or JSN. Like that's what people were hoping for, right? But that's really the only bet you're making if you're buying into him at his wide receiver 11 price or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like he's expensive. So if you're betting to go to the other end, like you were saying, he's probably not the guy I have to hold. And I can probably do something else with that. I don't know if I would. Here's the thing. I don't know if I would necessarily target trying to trade Ibuka for the right to draft any receiver this year. I'd rather pivot to another receiver that I kind of already can look at their profile and look at their situation as well and try to get a plus on top of it. So back to the conversation of like, let's just put this one out there. George Pickens or Emeka Ibuka? Because I think a lot of people would take Ibuka because of just a lot of the other factors, right? But I think the Trinity says differently. Trinity says if you're betting on one to be elite, it's George Pickens over Ibuka. We agree with that?
Yeah, and they're both right there. KTC, here they go. There's Ibuka 58.89, and Pickens is 60.91 for his KTC value. They're literally
similar.
They're right. Pickens slightly higher, slightly higher, slightly higher.
So let's go through some of the other players.
Got?
Let's get through some of the other guys because I want to isolate a few of these guys to
kind of
give an idea.
Stay here.
Yeah, we can just look at Tampa Bay 2025. Go to week 12 and beyond.
Okay, I'm on the KTC value chart right now. Looking. You need regular. You need the regular thing. All right, what do you want?
Yep. 12 and beyond.
All right.
Okay.
Sure, that's good. There we go.
All right, so week 12 is when Chris Godwin returned. So real quick, like Chris Godwin, is he a guy that you would be interested in as one of those just innings eater receivers? Did he show enough last year?
At cost? Absolutely. Year two off of that injury? Absolutely.
He's very comparable to, remember what we talked about with DJ Moore in the Bears offense?
Mm-hmm.
But in the pecking order in Tampa Bay, he's probably a little higher than DJ Moore was relative to the Bears.
Probably.
So he feels like that veteran receiver that if you're trying to get, you're trying to get rid of an early third round rookie pick and somebody you're not sure you can use, he feels like the type of receiver that I'm willing to buy in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only exacerbated if Evans were to go to another situation. Because I think Godwin is like the DJ Moore role. He is what he is on their offense. So you can probably project similar to what you've gotten last year to him going forward. Does that mean he can be more? Does that mean he's going to exceed where you have him placed? Probably not. But he's the one that I think I can get the cheapest. Evans, I think, is a little more expensive because people kind of just view him as he has more in the tank. Yep.
Okay.
But let's go to week 15 and beyond. I want to highlight that as well.
Let's do that.
Because this is the other one people are going to have questions about.
I already know where you're going with this. Jaylen McMillan, right?
McMillan. So this is when McMillan returned. And, again, it's a tough environment for him to break through. But, remember when we thought this guy's season was done? And then he comes back and you're like, wait, he kind of just kept pace with all the other guys that have been playing most of the year. So what do you do with him? He's the wild card to me. I think he's the one that benefits the most by Evans leaving. But let's assume Evans doesn't leave because he's said in the past, he only wants to play for Tampa Bay. Who knows what the money looks like? But, if Evans doesn't leave, I like McMillan. I think you put him in one of 20 other situations, and he's probably more worth talking about than we're probably going to give him kudos on this show. But this will be his third year. If he has these three guys in front of him again next year, is he just one of the most expensive gnats out there, Ray? Is he somebody you would buy or what?
He is, and I am not just saying this, Jaylen McMillan is a player that I talked about during the draft. And here was his overall score for all weeks last season. 5.25, above the 5 threshold, a little below the line. 9.2 points per game. If I just go half of that season and just break this out, let's go. Let's get that off of there. Let's just go weeks 8 through 17. I'm not even going to segment this out too wild. Weeks 8 through 17. For Jaylen McMillan last year, 5.0, 13 points per game. Here was my take on this whole situation, my entire situation with Tampa Bay coming into the season in Emeka Ibuka, and you could check the receipts on this one. I was not in on Ibuka coming in and doing what he did right away because I still believed that McMillan was going to be a big part of this offense. Had he not broken his damn neck in the preseason game, I don't think it would have just been all Emeka Ibuka out the gate. McMillan, what he did in 2024, especially the second half of that season, was really good. Really good work for a young player who probably wasn't projected to be that high. I'm very much in on him still, Scott. I liked him last year. And then the moment he got back on the field, again, I'm not speculating. I'm not trying to wish cast anything. I'm looking at what happened when they got on the field. And the moment McMillan got on the field, he was being targeted. Like, he was being used. The moment he got on the field, he was being used. And I think I was looking at 2025 with McMillan stuff. I didn't update it to 24, but he was being used the moment he got on the field. So, yeah, I am very much in. I think if Mike Evans leaves, it will be a boost for Ibuka. I think Godwin is what Godwin is going to be, and McMillan gets a big-time bump up. I am interested in acquiring some McMillan this offseason.
So takeaway would be Godwin's pretty stable.
He's the DJ Moore. You made a great comment. He's the DJ Moore of this offense. Like, you know what he is. Like, he is what he is.
Ibuka's the prize, but I think we agree that if Evans were to depart, the surge for Ibuka will be insane if Evans departs. The market will go, Ibuka wheels up. He's the next JSN. You'll hear all of that, right?
Yep.
But the winner of that might be McMillan. He might be the guy you go throw a third at and say, you know what, I'll just gamble that his usage is going to be good enough to where, yeah, maybe he is the third best receiver on the team, but it isn't the third in terms of he's 40% behind the other two.
Right.
He's keeping pace with them, 20, 30% of the time. Kind of like the Bears had this year, right? Except for the Bears also have a tight end, so it makes it a little more complicated. But I'm going to be on a McMillan if Evans leaves. He'll be the one where I'm like, he'll get surged up a little bit, but he feels like the one where you could look up. I mean, if you just compare the games he played with Ibuka, he got similar usage and he produced more. So,
Scott, I'd want him regardless. I'd want him regardless. Yeah. Have Evans and Godwin been models of health over the last 5 years?
No.
But
here's the problem, though. Like, okay, you can't go into the year knowing, okay, they're going to miss 8 games each, 6 games each, even though you probably bet that there's going to be an injury at some point for them. But I think the biggest thing, Ray, is the environment needs to get better.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, period.
We're talking about 4 receivers on a team that is the environment that's similar to, it's a bottom half of the league environment. And we're talking about 4 damn receivers.
You're right.
That's right now, they really only have probably the capacity to support 2. And yet we're talking about the wide receiver 4. Do we like him as a buy? We're banking the environment gets better. If it doesn't.
Is that a good bank? That's the real question. The hell with the receivers, Scott. Is this a situation? Did they hire an OC yet? Did they hire a new OC in Tampa Bay yet? I don't think so. At the time we're recording this video, I don't believe so. That is the bet because Baker was stank. And then part of it, Scott, how much of what we saw in 2024 was the outlier? He had, 40 touchdowns in 2024? Baker Mayfield with Liam Cohen? We're probably not getting that again. So how much does the environment need to change to be in on 3-4 damn options in an offense like this? I mean, and then people are talking about they draft Kenyon Sadiq. They're drafting a tight end in the draft. Like, that is the real crux of this matter is, can this environment get better? Can Baker and the offense get better?
Yeah, it's one of the most fascinating ones because I think in the end, like, I'll be honest, Baker is one of those guys I'm willing to invest back in for all we're talking about. Like, now that he's kind of fallen back to the bottom of that, non-elite tier of quarterbacks, that's one that I'm willing to take a gamble on and go back in on because he's probably the ultimate winner if they bring Evans back. I mean, their quad of receivers is better than anybody in the league. I know Godwin and Evans are old, but like if all four of those guys are back, you like it for Baker, honestly, instead of having to decide what you want to do with each one of the individual receivers at that point. But yeah, it's the environment. Environment has to get better.
All right. We spent all the time on Tampa Bay, but I agree with you. I mean, you're talking about four. Scott, you just said Tez, and I agree with you. The best, one of the better wide receiver 5-6s in the league, and you still have a tight end in Cade Otton. The consolidation here is a problem. We have not talked about it, but this was a problem. And this is what's scary, is that there is no clear separation of the 1, the 2, or the 3. There isn't. Based on what happened last year, they're all just jumbled together, and that is the biggest problem, and that's why nobody is in that green zone. None of them.
Well, and I'll say this for the last time. That is why it's important for the environment to get better. Because I guarantee you, Tampa drafted Tez Johnson and Ibuka because they know Mike Evans and Chris Godwin aren't playing every single game.
Yes.
So they're banking. They're going to need some overlap, and they're going to need to have roles that are interchangeable between their receivers. We don't like that for fantasy. But you know what? If I know it's a good environment, I can live with a couple weeks a year where I don't have 2 of these 5 guys because I've seen enough from the other guys to know, okay, this is how I'm going to deploy Jaylen McMillan this week because Chris Godwin's not playing. We can deal with that on a week-to-week basis. From like a season-long accumulation standpoint, it's hard to go into the year going, okay, Tez Johnson's going to be usable more than 1 or 2 times because he's probably buried for most of the weeks when the other guys are playing. But even when he's not, like you need to have the ability to use him in the weeks where maybe he's going to get a little more opportunity. But if the environment is good, I just know basically every week I can deploy 3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And maybe some weeks that's Tez when he elevates into one of those roles for a short period of time. So we spent a lot there. Let's go to Carolina. I think we can knock this one out in 5 minutes because it's boring.
All right, let's go Carolina. I kind of want to talk about a player in Carolina, but let's go. All right, there we go.
So bad environment. 27th in environment score. So quarterback stinks. The way they run the offense stinks. I mean, the embarrassingly low pass EPA on passing plays, 30th out of 32. So it's kind of maddening that they're going to consider extending this quarterback that they have. But, you know, what can you do? But the environment's not good. I don't know about you, but they seem committed to Bryce Young. I think maybe the worst thing that's happened is that they made the playoffs this year, which means they're probably going to roll this environment back for another 2 years.
And went blow for blow with the Rams. And went blow for blow with the Rams in that game.
And lost their starting left tackle in the playoffs for probably all of next year.
Couldn't run the ball.
This feels like an environment. This feels like an environment I will bet to be bottom half of the league without any change on the horizon. And so analyzing their weapons, like talk about Tet McMillan, because he feels like an elite receiver, but is going to be
This example came
stuck.
up. This example came up in the Discord, and my question to you was going to be, how much will the environment change? Because his usage, and you can really see it when you look at the report, you know, rookie year through 17 games. So I don't know what he did in week 18, but through 17 games, you're talking about a player right at 2 yards per route run, 669 air yards, 24% target share, 14 red zone looks. And then when you look at just his usage for what he did this past season, his top 10 percentile outcome, his efficiency score, his efficiency adjusted Trinity dropped down about a half a point because of where he finished. And that's not a lot of him, but a lot of the quarterback. You see his low end range, 13 points per game, which would be a point up from where he's at now. Medium range outcome for players that score like this going into the following season, about 15. And then the high end, top 10% of the results, 18 points per game. Now, you keep talking about environmental shift, environmental change. The environment has to change. A shining example of this sort of playing out, and people did not expect it this year, because I can go back and look at ADP and I can tell you where people were drafting folks. But let's look at the gold standard for when an environment changes, okay? This was JSN in 2024. His Trinity score was a 6.48, but adjusted up because he was pretty good, 6.98. So right around a 7 score. And look at what the tool said. And this didn't have anything to do with Geno Smith or Sam Darnold, but based on where JSN was, those were his 3 buckets. And then we know what ended up happening in 2025 when the environment shifted and then that usage not only held firm, but took an uptick. He exceeded the top 10 percentile outcome for what he was, projected to do based on his usage. He will help the tool be sharper next season because not only did he meet every one of these thresholds, he exceeded it. Now, is Carolina going to have that type of change this season? Not if they commit to Bryce. So my take on Tet is if they stick with Bryce Young and he doesn't make a monumental leap forward, he's probably in that same zone in 2026. But if the changes can happen based on how he's been used, he could also jump into a different type of tier on the upward trajectory. But it is tough to bet on that environment changing with Bryce Young at the helm.
Yeah, I mean, I like how you compared those two because it is interesting to think about. Like, basically what you're saying is that if there was another JSN, which we're going to hear that all offseason, who's the next JSN? And, the answer is probably there's not going to be another guy that does what he does for a while, that goes from where he was to where he was this year. But I want to go back to Panthers team Trinity for the year. I want to just highlight something that stood out to me, a couple things. So you look at Carolina. I mean, what do you notice? First of all, look at the average Trinity score for the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's poor.
Under 3. So that tells me that if you have Tet McMillan 7.5 and the rest is under 3, that they had nobody else that was really a factor, which is that's what Seattle looked like this year, right? So that helped JSN take the piece of the pie. Now, here's the difference. Both Seattle and Carolina last year were outside the top 20 in neutral pass rate and plays per game, right? So it's not a volume thing with either team. Sam Darnold ranked in the top 10 in pass quality and in ADOT. Bryce Young bottom 5 in both categories. So really, you're betting on Bryce Young just taking a monumental leap forward in the quality that he gives to Tet McMillan. Nothing to do with volume, nothing to do with play rates, none of that. It is the ADOT and the quality, because that is what JSN had for him this year. He had a high average depth of target, so he was getting air yards, and he was getting a massive amount of target share, and he was getting a high-quality target share at that. That's why I'm willing to bet against Tet McMillan doing anything like JSN, because he just doesn't have the quarterback.
And that's the thing. All I'm saying is that based on what they did and how they were used, it's very, very identical. Target share, air yard share. JSN had more yards in 2024 throughout that point in time. He was Tet was higher yards per route run. A lot of this looks very similar. And if I would have asked you last year, what are the chances that JSN could do that? You also would have said there's no chance that he could do that because nobody believed Sam Darnold was going to be able to be that good. I'm not arguing any of that. It's easy to use the hindsight to say nobody will do what JSN did, but JSN didn't have, and this is equating Cooper Kupp into it, which he wasn't on the team. But no one believed that Sam Darnold was going to be that good this year. So while the likelihood is probably pretty, man, look at Carolina last year, probably pretty low. All I'll say is it's easy to sit back today and have the confidence that we knew JSN was going to be that way this year, but people did not. Like, people did not believe that. Yardage-wise, they were the same. The receptions are down. Like, Bryce has to be better. That's what I led this thing by saying. If you can make the bet that Bryce takes a monumental leap forward, like, the usage should say he should be in a very high-end range. I'm not saying exceed. To exceed your top 10 percentile outcome, you had everything went right. You had health, you had efficiency, you had production. Everything went right. In life, Scott, if you enter a trade in the stock market and they're like, hey, man, this is probably what you're going to get, but we're going to go, the top 10 percentile return of investment is this, and you exceed that by like 10, 20%, that's it. That's an anomaly. Everything went right for that to happen. He didn't miss a game. He wasn't knocked out of a game. Didn't JSN play every game this year? I'll be interested to see his snap rate, his plays. Trey McBride played every game this season. That's what I'm not betting on, is just players. If you can last and hold up every game and get that type of usage, you will be really good. If that environment is good. He's one that I'm willing to buy if things start off rocky next year, because Bryce won't be back. Like, he's already demonstrated the type of, at least overall team usage. Nobody's close to him. Like, you can't see the dots here, but the next closest target share is Leggett at 14%. Like, that's the next closest guy. Nobody over 300 air yards except Tetero and McMillan. Nobody over, you got Leggett with 11 red zone. Look at the yak. Nobody's even over 3 digits of yak. Well, Tommy Trimble is. But from the receivers, it's McMillan. He's doing all the stuff that you need. You just need the environment to get better.
Yeah, and we'll get to JSN in the next episode when we talk about the West. But, I hate to put this out there, but they lose Kubiak, and you go back to some of the previous numbers, I think you're right. Like, this is probably the peak year for JSN. Like, everything clicked. It's hard to bet on everything just clicking in the same ranges as it did this year. Next year, but let's talk Jaylen Coker real quick, because that's the other player people want to talk about. He returned in week 7. So I pulled up his Trinity from week 7 and beyond. And everything applying to the environment we just talked about also applies to Jaylen Coker. But he's the one that had the big playoff game, right? So, what's the takeaway on Coker? Like, I'm looking at him and saying he's clearly the second highest valued asset on the Panthers. I think we also agree they have to add another offensive weapon somewhere, whether that's a receiver or a tight end. But what's your thoughts on Coker? Because looking at this Trinity, I know he came on towards the end of the year. I bet you if we filtered, past the first month that he came back, that he didn't do anything, we could make it look a little bit better. But he's a guy that I think people like. I think people see, he's the number 2 on the Panthers. They're only going to get a little better because they made the playoffs. That feels like a guy that if the market's treating him like that, there are other receivers similar that I'd rather have. Do you agree?
100%. 100%. I don't know. Yeah.
If people like Coker, right? Those cokeheads, they love him.
Well, I mean, look at he's valued higher than, at least by KTC, than Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, or Jalen McMillan. Godwin was in the 2000s. Put Tampa Bay up. Let's put Tampa Bay up. If I could move my Jaylen Coker, is this the full? Yep. If I could move my Coker for Evans or Godwin, I would do it. And I don't know if that can be done, Scott Cotter, but if I could, I would do it. Look at McMillan versus Ibuka. I'll tell you right now, if I could turn Ibuka into McMillan, I would do it, even with the environment that Tetero McMillan is currently in. Even with that. And I'm almost saying I'll eat 2026 and just bank on 2027. Because I know in 26 he's not going to give me a 0. I know that. He's the new age Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, George Pickens. That's who he is. He's those guys when they were in Drake London, when they lived below the line but high usage for 2-3 years until there was a quarter. He's the new one of those guys. He's the new London. He's the new Olave. He's the new George Pickens that are highly utilized, but everyone knows their quarterback's dog shit. And the moment that changes, it should just spike up. It should. That's what should happen.
I think with Coker, you're probably trying to go cross-positional because I think receivers, like you can say, I'll tear off. I mean, I can think of receiver names I would tear off of Coker to try to get, but I don't know if I trade, who I'd rather have over Coker? Ryan Flournoy, for the purpose of being able to use him. But I don't have to make that kind of trade. But what I'm trying to do with Coker is he's the type of receiver that has the value of somebody will like him. Don't know if you can get a second for him, but somebody will like him. He's the type of receiver I'm trying to go cross positional. Can I go trade him for one of these? Can I go trade him for Ramondre Stevenson? Can I go trade him for a running back that I know I'll be able to use because I'm locking in probably something that I'm a little more certain is going to be usable. Whereas him, here's how I'm going to end it. Even if the Panthers add nothing, Zero. And I think they'd be stupid not to add anything, right?
Agreed.
But even if they add nothing, I'm not looking at Jaylen Coker as a guy I'm excited to start, given his environment.
No.
So, and man, what if they draft a receiver in the first round? You know what I mean? They draft like a Concepcion or Branch or something. Then all bets are off on Jaylen Coker at that point. But even if they added nobody, he's a guy I'm still moving off of.
Let me tell you what they're going to add. And I want you all to tell me what they're going to add. Look at this chart for Carolina. Look at this chart. Look at the names.
I know where you're going.
What are they going to add? What is not present on this screen?
You going to look at something for tight end usage?
They're going to tight ends right there. They're going to address this, whether that be free agency or the draft. Like those were the three tight ends. It's fair to say that Tommy Tremble, holding those Mitchell Evans and Jatavion Sanders, especially Sanders, year 2, these guys, they were non-existent in the offense. Non-existent. That's the thing that's missing on here. They will address tight end. Guarantee you that. And then if it's in the draft and it's early, if it's Kenyon Sadiq, these guys are crushed. If they go sign Isaiah Likely, I don't know what the tight end free agent market is, that they don't even have one present on the screen in a usable range. They're in the dark red. Low usage, low scoring. They're gonna add probably another weapon. I would anticipate a tight end entering the fold in 2026 for Carolina.
Yep, agree. Let's go to the Falcons.
Atlanta. Welcome to Atlanta where the players play. All right, we got London. Is Pitts gone?
I don't think he will be. I think he will be franchise tagged, but we'll know that here in a couple weeks just because it's like $14 million to keep him. I mean, in this receiver market, that feels like a pretty good bet if you can get another year out of Pitts. So I would bank on him being back, but certainly if he leaves, I mean, this is no better than
his situation was
no better than Carolina.
Year. I didn't realize it was this bad in Atlanta. My goodness.
Well, so here's what drove it down. Their neutral pass rate was 26th. Everything else, I mean,
dude, there's two guys. it's London and Pitts, and London missed 4 games at the end of the season. Like this was I remember us talking about this was a situation. I didn't want any of those guys. I had no interest in David Sills, Casey Washington. None of them. If it wasn't London or Pitts, I don't want to touch you. There was nothing else to be had.
Well, I mean, now that we've seen the season play out, they're bringing in a brand new head coach and OC, and probably run it back with London and Pitts. I mean, where would you start with London relative to some of the other guys we've talked about? Like, is he clearly in a tier above McMillan and Ibuka?
Yeah.
For you?
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Where's he at?
And then we talked about Pitts quite a bit. If you want to go to just the, actually, I think this will highlight it.
KTC value.
Go to the full season of full season KTC, and then remove receivers.
Already on the screen, baby. It's already done. Done.
If you do that, where do you see Pitts? You see him in the range with, like, he's not as sexy as Harold Finn or Colston Loveland or but it's fair to say he's as good as those guys, right? Like he's right in the mix. Like he's probably still deserved to be, I don't know. I mean, Harold Fannin or Kyle Pitts. I know people have a hard time stomaching that, like, he still belongs in that category, but like he absolutely does.
You said who or Pitts?
Fannin or Pitts, Loveland or Pitts, Warren or Pitts. It feels
Pitts
like those three.
Yes.
You bring those three to the table, somebody will give you their Pitts because he's just yesterday's news. He's been around. He's not the shiny new toy, but like, I think I wanted to highlight this, that, you know, people still talk about Pitts like he's kind of a bum or a bust, but like he's still probably one of the better tight ends in the league. And
could you move Fannin, Loveland, or Warren for Pitts
yes.
plus?
Yes.
Okay.
Look at the KTC. Look at KTC versus Trinity.
I'm on it. Yeah.
I mean, they are a tier. I mean, Warren and Loveland are two tiers above Pitts.
Yeah.
Fannin's above him.
Kraft is above him.
Laporta's above him.
Yeah. Gadsden's right on his heels. Gadsden's right on his heels.
If you want in Pitts, I think there's angles with Gadsden now with McDaniel, Laporta now with Petzing, Loveland, Fannin, Warren, all coming off strong rookie years. Kraft, I mean,
just wait on Kraft. The time will come. He needs to post that workout video, Scott. Once he posts that workout video ahead of schedule, people are back in.
Well, but yeah, go back and listen to what we talked about with Green Bay. Like, I'd almost rather prefer Pitts' role than even Kraft's. But I think there's many opportunities to pivot to Pitts because the tight end landscape is so strong right now that if you wanted to buy back into him, and I know people have been hurt by him in the past, but like that's probably one of those tight ends that, especially if he figures it out with the Falcons and they do give him a contract. I mean, we could go back and look at Stefanski's usage when he had Njoku.
I was just about to say.
This is probably even better.
I love it.
Pitts is better than Njoku ever was. So
I love it. And he's still only, 25 years old? I would absolutely, if I could, I'm telling you right now, if I could pivot Warren, Laporta, Gadsden, Fannin into Kyle Pitts, I would do it. Kraft, the only one I probably would be hesitant on is Colston Loveland. But if the plus is good enough, I would do it too. Loveland, to me, would be the one where I'd least want to make that move, unless you're telling me if somebody, and there might be a sicko out there that really wants Colston Loveland and they're tossing around 27 first, shit like that. If I can get something like that, I would do it. But other than that, Warren, not a doubt. And I was Tyler Warren 101. I told people don't fear, and it played out. He was excellent this year. He's going to be a top tight end in the league. He's a very good player. But if I could turn Warren into Pitts plus, done. Fannin into Pitts plus, done. Laporta, Gadsden, Kraft, done. Done deal.
So based on last year, 2 questions, and then we'll move on to New Orleans. Any interest in any of the other players on their team? Darnell Mooney's probably the number 3. No interest?
No. Nope.
They can cut Darnell Mooney. I'm just looking at his contract. There would be dead cap, though, so he's probably on the roster, given they don't have any other receivers. Like, he's probably out there, but not super interested. What's your take on the Falcons? Is this a team, I know they don't have their first, is this a team that has to add a weapon of some sort, do you think?
Not if they have Pitts in London. They need to add some other bodies there, but with Pitts in London, like, those will be the two. Those will be your weapons, and I think we will like that. This is, you know who the weapons are? It's Pitts, London, and Bijan Robinson. It's not the killer bees of Pittsburgh with Ben, AB, and Bell, but those are your 3 studs right there. Those are your 3 studs. They're going to lose out. This could be a sneaky, nasty, consolidated, at least in this year, because they don't have that first. There are other issues they need to address. I'm not sure what their cap space is like, but this could be one of those years where if they bring those 3 back, the consolidation alone could yield some pretty high-end results. Let me just go look at Pitts' range of outcome based on his usage, because it was really good this year. I just want to see. Kyle Pitts. Okay, it didn't adjust for efficiency, so he did what he did. Like, he got it done this year, 12.4 points per game, 6.5 score. High-end range, we're talking about 16 points. 13 in the.
Here's another one to look at real quick. Go to weeks 1 through 11 for the Falcons, and then go weeks 12 through 17.
Okay, 1 through 11?
Yep. You'll be blown away. I think this is something else we haven't factored in, but I'm sure it'll get hit in the comments because it is a big deal. So you go 1 and 11 for Atlanta.
Okay. London
update.
Destroying everybody. Pitts 5.77 below the line, 9.64. London 8.6, 20 points a game.
Okay. Now go 12 through 17.
I did that wrong. I shouldn't have. Don't you like the fact that we can filter weeks now? Just whatever kind of weeks you
Yes.
want to look at, so much better. All right, let's update that. Good grief. 7, 8, 2, 17 points per game. And nobody else was even. Mooney's down here. He's barely a 5. London was way back there, but a lot of this was he was in a game and left. If you don't play the full game, you get kind of screwed by that. So here you go. Pitts destroying.
12 through 17 was with Kirk Cousins. 1 through 11 was with Michael Penix. So I know we're all rosy on Kyle Pitts, but there was a clear difference in his usage and his efficiency when he had Michael Penix versus Kirk Cousins. So that will be one to watch too, what their quarterback situation looks like.
This is where the blind hopium of Stefanski and them, they'll just do better than what Zach Robinson did. Well, but yeah.
But here's the thing. Remember Stefanski, this is one thing I didn't account for. Like, remember the Falcons restructured Cousins' contract, right, to make him easier to move. But then they hired Stefanski, who for the longest time, people wanted Kirk Cousins to go back to Kevin Stefanski.
Everybody wanted, yep.
Here he is. That's one that I'm going to be following closely. Like, what is their plan for quarterback? I definitely want it to be Kirk Cousins over Michael Penix if you're talking about the weapons.
There's no way it is. There's no way they don't give Penix the first crack at it. They just have to, don't they?
Here's how I see it playing out. It's just like it's almost like Penix is going back to his rookie year, right? Like, he's going to get all the opportunity to get healthy from his injury and win the job. If he wins the job, it's hard for them to say we're going to go back to Kirk Cousins at some point unless Penix is done for, right? Now, I think you could play it as Penix is not healthy enough, which means he, quote unquote, doesn't win the job. And we're going to give it to Cousins for the first part of the year until he inevitably is Kirk Cousins. And because I think you're right. I don't think they just nuke Penix and never give him another shot.
Nah, you can't do that.
He's going to see it through to where he's going to get another crack to be the future QB there.
Yes.
But just something to watch. If they don't move Cousins, that's something to watch.
Good check. I like that. Good check. I like that. Good shit, Scott. That's it. That was a nice little addition that needed to be made for context here. New Orleans. Let's do it, baby. Beautiful city, beautiful people.
All right. So Saints for the year. I mean, it's funny how a lot of these teams look similar, right? Every team pretty much, except for the Buccaneers, has a clear alpha receiver.
28%.
This one being Chris Olave.
Man.
Yeah. I'm curious. Man. I mean, I know we usually do this at the end, but plug Olave's 25 into that historical tab. Because the one thing about the Saints is they're not going to have really any changes. Same quarterback, same OC. Same head coach.
Man.
That's for the season, right?
Yeah.
No one really talks about Olave being the next it factor, it receiver, but like this is higher than what we saw with Tet McMillan and Ibuka.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean,
and I like Olave's situation better, other than and this is partially with Spencer Rattler. I didn't have the numbers for just Tyler Shuck, but other than passing EPA, the Saints were top half of the league and everything. So the environment they're trying to create is good for receivers and for tight ends. You just need the quality to get a little bit better than it was. And again, this is the full season. I'm not sure what Tyler Shuck was versus Spencer Rattler, but they basically split 50-50. So if maybe even Shuck was a little higher than what their season average was, this is potentially a top 10 environment. And you have an alpha receiver here with this range of outcomes. Are we too low on Chris Olave?
I'm looking up when Tyler Shuck took over so I can filter that out. I mean, this is
week 9, I believe, was his first start.
This is always a fun deal when you do this on the historical tab. We're gonna go 9 through 17. We're going 9 through 17 to look at what Olave's usage, if it held this way. 8.64 efficiency adjusted Trinity score, 8.14. He was scoring 18 points per game from 9 through 17. Look at that. I mean, again, top 10 percentile range, 26 points per game. Highly unlikely to happen. But the way that I use this is if nothing changes in the environment, here's how I use it, Scott. If nothing, do I look at that and be like, oh, hell yeah, he's the 101 in redraft? No. But if nothing changes in this environment and things are just kind of what they were like last year, like you're talking about a player who has the capability of getting you 18 points per game, 19 points per game. And if you've got a player that's capable of doing that, think about this. For the stretch of the season, even at 18 points per game, if that's what you are able to do for the course of a season, then you know what that also means, Scott, is there were some massive blow-up spike weeks inside of that subset. You probably had, say, some monster finishes a la George Pickens, a 30-point game, a 29-point game, a 32-point game, a multi-touchdown week. You don't see that. You're not getting that from players who their range is not, they're not utilized enough, right? Unless you got somebody that catches 3 passes for 3 touchdowns in a week, and that's all they did. But outside of what that tells me, more so than looking at, oh my God, I'm getting a 26 point per game player. If I want to sit back and say, I'm betting on Tyler Shuck and the offense taking a step forward, that's the guy that can spike in this offense. And he's got the potential to give me a difference-making season at the receiver spot. Like, that's how I use that. It's not to, and then to kind of adjust for the floor. Like, I know at a floor level, I should have a really good player, a 15 point per game player at minimum here with Chris Olave throughout the course of the season.
I'm just looking up passing efficiency for Tyler Shuck. So he wasn't great, but he wasn't awful.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the guys that are around him: Baker Mayfield, Tagovailoa, Bo Nix, Aaron Rodgers. Like, he's not down in the Cam Ward, Geno Smith, Bryce Young range. Like, he's a tier better than those guys. So let's just assume we can get to league average quarterback efficiency. I'll take 20th. I'll take 8th. This is a sneaky one where, I mean, you looked at those numbers when he had Tyler Shuck, right? Week 9 through 17.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt there's many receivers that we could find a 8-week sample size where their range of outcomes is getting close to 27 points per game. You can pull up the best of the best names in the NFL, and I don't know if we can creatively filter away where they have that potential. So that's why I asked, like, are we too low on Chris Olave? I think there's still a little bit of a discount for, okay, you could get another concussion or blah, blah, blah. But, like, he should be in the conversation with everybody else we've talked about today, right? Ibuka, Olave or London?
I mean, I would take London, but that's where we're at.
That's where we're
at. That's where we're at. I mean, look, he's got this is for the full season. He got the 4th highest Trinity score in 2025. Mm-hmm. 4th highest usage score. And his target share is in line with the other. I mean, London's a little higher, 26. Some of this is probably due to the fact that he did have Spencer Rattler at the beginning. But you look at just his overall counting metrics, they're consistent. They're consistent. The elites, you need to be like 29, 30%. Amon-Ra 29, Jefferson 29, Chase 31, JSN ridiculous 34, right? 1,200 air yards for Jackson Smith. What JSN just did is something that you just like. That is, we'll talk about him later. But yeah, Olave's 4th, Scott. He's not in the light blue elite, and even Tyreek being here. This is team-based, right? So if we filter him out for the weeks and the teams, but when he was out there, he was getting looks in Miami's shitty offense. But I absolutely believe Olave is. You tell people right off the rip, Nico Collins or Chris Olave, and they're like, "Oh, Nico!" Like, you just without even thinking, give me Nico Collins. Go
to this. This highlights. This will have a great dynasty conversation to end it. Go to KTC, Trinity versus KTC. I don't think we've used this part of the tool yet on the stream, so I want to highlight this. All right, now go over to our little sliders, right?
Okay.
All right. And make that Trinity minimum 7. So we're really only talking about the elite of the elite guys. Like
okay.
Elite usage, real close to elite usage. All right.
Yep, there it is.
Now slide that old age range filter
age filter. Okay.
And only go guys under 25. 25 and under. This will highlight the elite usage young dynasty assets. And just tell me based on that chart. And I'm not saying that Jamar Chase is overrated or Puka Nacua is overrated or JSN's over. I mean, when you get guys that their score is up where it is,
jeez.
Like, okay, let's almost exclude those guys. We could almost remove.
Like
I don't want to remove, but let's.
I know what you mean. You could almost get
the guys at the very top.
Yeah.
That next cluster of about, what do we got in there? London, 11 players.
Yep.
You can clearly look at those names with those 11 players, and all of those names are not created equal. Look who's on there, Ray.
I see
who's on there. I think maybe our filter is. Let me see if we're the same or not.
I'm at 25. Let me hit. I didn't hit update. There we go. I didn't hit update. You got to hit update.
No, you had to hit update. Okay.
I had to hit update.
Because look who's on there.
There we go.
Look who's on there. Who is that lowest valued player in that range that we already covered?
Is that Wandale?
Yep.
Yeah.
Another one.
Zay
Flowers. But the one that's right above that,
Chris Olave.
Lowest value of everybody on there is Chris Olave.
Chris Olave.
Like, he's not talked about like people talk about Tet McMillan or Drake London
Ibuka.
Or Malik Neighbors or Ibuka. But like, he absolutely is in the conversation with every one of those guys. And if I just told you to look at this tab as trying to find the most economical dynasty buy, we already talked about Wandale. We didn't talk about Zay Flowers, but I think he still belongs on the conversation.
Yes, he is. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
But then it's like Chris Olave should be in the conversation with all those other elite players, and he's just not. Not Brian Thomas. Not Nico Collins.
I said Nico. I said Nico. Yeah. Damn.
But here we are.
I have not used the age slider, but I like getting out the old guys and just looking at 25 and below. And I'm looking at the screen. I mean, we could take the 2 tight ends off of there, but you've got McBride and Bowers. There's Neighbors. Look at how high Neighbors is. Neighbors is tucked behind McBride, but I mean, here's the crazy part, Scott. People were, and you remember it and I remember it. People were totally fine making the pivot from Neighbors to Ibuka during that run. Hey, I'm good. I can move that Neighbors for Ibuka. But you're right. Nobody would probably suggest moving Neighbors for Chris Olave even today. Nah, I can't do that, man. Concussion history. He could be out of the league. I don't know about the environment. Just when you hear the name Olave, because he had lived below that line for so long, and we'll end it here, Scott. We'll end it here. Chris Olave. Let's go Olave. Because we talked about usage change, right? Situation change, all that kind of stuff. We don't need man zone. Let's go 2022. Chris Olave, 2022 season. Let's update this. I'm on the Trinity versus KTC. I need to be on the regular chart. And just look at what happens when you get that. And a lot of times we think that the situation change has to be this drastic, they go get Patrick Mahomes. And a lot of times, man, it's getting better than what you've had, right? So let's look at Olave last year. His score last year, and I didn't even do the range of outcome. Here was Olave last year, Scott. 5.3, 9 points per game for 2024. So not a good season last year, right? 2023, let's update this, see where he was at. Here's 2023, kind of low, 7.0, 14 points per game. That was his second season, 2022. Let's look at where Olave was, below the line. The usage has always been there, right? 7.2, 7.0, 7.3, 12 points, 13 points. And then this year, when he got the new head coach, when there was consolidated targets, when the environment flipped, the usage ticked up and he scored his highest point per game output of his career here. Like, he's already proven that I can handle targets. I can be fed. I can operate as a one. They felt comfortable enough to move Shaheed, to roll with Olave and Juwan Johnson. I like the buy. think we talked about him a while ago, but I am very much in on him as a buy. Very much in on him. Very much in.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to play with those sliders because I'm not going to do it here. Like, we don't have time to go through it on this one, but that same filter that we used for the Dynasty buys, right? 7 or higher Trinity, 25 years or younger. Go look at what that looked like in 2024. You don't have to do it right, but go look at in 2024. Everybody was above the line. So it was a lot more efficient. Whereas here, you got damn near 3, 4, 5 guys that are at the line or lower, which says that the market hasn't caught up on Zay Flowers, on Wan'Dale Robinson, on Chris Olave, on whoever it might be. But like, look for things like that. You could probably do the same thing for guys that are 29 or older.
Can I do it for the old guys? Can I go 29 or older with scores between 5 and 6.5 to find some cheap production, right? Can I find some cheap production with the old?
I'm going to put it on my screen. What are you doing? Over 29 or older?
Go 29 and older. Give me a 5 to 6.5. Just some older guys that are still in the fold being used.
Just put it at 5.
Okay.
Don't cap your potential. Just put it at 5 and see what we get.
Okay, so what are we going? 29. Am I doing this now? All right, let's get that off of there.
29 or older, and then Trinity of 5 or better.
29. Trinity of 5 and above. There it is right there on the screen.
Let me see. Mine looks a little different than yours.
Well, let me hit update. Let me hit update. There we go. I hit update there. I gotta remember to hit update. 2025. I got Tyreek, McLaurin, Sutton, Adams, Kittle, Diggs, Evans, Myers, Keenan Allen, Godwin, Ertz, Juwan Johnson, Kelsey, Debo, Goddard, Hunter Henry, Mark Andrews, and way at the bottom.
Calvin you got to go to KTC. You got to go to KTC.
I was just on the regular. Go to because I was like, wait a sec. KTC will highlight for you exactly. I mean, this is Dynasty in a nutshell when Ray hits update. You said 5 update.
5, and that's Dynasty in a nutshell, right? None of them guys can have value. Too old.
Jeez.
You notice how they all go way below that line?
I was about to say, hey, there's a bunch above the line over here on this other page. You're like, nah, man, go to KTC. You're on the wrong page. They're all well below. I mean, Zach Ertz is almost off the screen, and I get it. But yeah, I mean, play with the sliders, as you said, Scott. Play with the sliders, as you said. Get us out of here, man. This was a fun show.
Yeah, this was week 3, talking NFC South. We've done the East. We've done the North. We'll be doing the West next week. Then we'll hit the AFC. That will lead us right up to free agency. But every episode, we are finding new ways to use the tool, new things to filter, new things to sort by. And both of us leave these episodes thinking, man, like I kind of want to go back and look at that and see what maybe I can go figure out and, make some content about or talk about inside our community. So if you're not in there, you can get more of this conversation there, patreon.com/allgas. You can get the tool and the community for $14.99 a month on ddfantasyfootball.com. That's the all-encompassing package. If you want to do mock drafts, if you want to do Trinity, if you want to do the war, subscribe to the website. That's the easiest way to get everything that we're doing and engage in the community. So that's it. And if you're watching this back, if you're seeing this later on as a non-member on YouTube, you get it early. The next one's going forward and all this content from Ray and I and the Dynasty Deal Show. So become a member on there if you want. But that's all I got. Good luck, everybody, making moves this week, and we'll be back next week.
Peace.